Hey, welcome everybody to the Art of Playfulness. This is it's something that Nico's going to be teaching, and we realized about 50 minutes ago that it's so close to home that it has an aspect that's going to require me being more involved, particularly at the beginning. So this is going to be a three-part series every 2 weeks on Wednesdays, and we're going to look at playfulness in general in life and specifically tie it to the cosmic tower and how it can help us with that. So the part of this that's so fun for me is that part of our playfulness is how we show up on the screen in these calls. Like, I don't know how many of you were around the Wellness Enterprise in 2013, but I used to like shit my pants when I had to do a video. Like I would cry on videos sometimes. Like I couldn't have been more scared, tense, worried than I was. And I pushed myself through an enormous amount of training to get here. And now we're at a place where we're so free that we just show up as who we are. Like who we are is enough for fulfilling whatever. Like doesn't matter what the topic is. The answer is who we are is enough. And so sometimes when things are too close to home, then we need the support of another, a friend. That's why Jen and Nico and I rely on each other so deeply. So what happened like 50 minutes ago is like I checked in with Nico about playfulness, and he's like, wait, I don't know how to teach that. It's like how did I teach you? Like I don't know, right? And I was like, don't worry, Nico, we'll just change it, and I'll just do the introduction, and I'll remind you of what you've done for me. So first off, Nico, we're gonna get Nico does amazing caricatures and has amazing voices. So when we first started really spending time together in person, it was near Asheville, North Carolina, in the spring of, I don't know, was it a year and a half or 2.5 years ago?
Think the year before last, whatever year that was.
I think it was 18 months ago, Nico. It was like pretty recent. And we would go for walks. And Blue, my dog, was there. And for those of you who haven't been around long enough to know Blue, he's just this epic creature. And then Blue came into the farm where Charlie and Sophie and Coconut were living already. And the four dogs and Nico and I would go for a walk. And all of a sudden I felt like I was talking to five people. I'm like, what is going on around here? And, sometimes Nico would have something to say that he's trying to teach me, and I'd be like resistant or dense or whatever. And he'd start talking in Charlie's voice, and he'd just find another way in. So Nico, let's start with you having the opportunity to describe a little bit of the tightness that I was back then. Like what was I like?
Well, like up in your head, right? And I would say more forceful, right? And whenever I see force, I see resistance of our human nature. Nature flows. Nature, just goes. And we have this idea that the more serious we are, the better things are gonna be. And that is really just not the case. Little children, I mean, if you see how effortless they learn in the beginning until the no's start being programmed in, and you have to be like this and you can't be like that, that's when we start limiting, right? The Taoists say that you have your original face, which is the face that you came in with, and the goal is to go through life and return to your original phase. And children are the closest to that until we start programming them. So yeah, I was just like, Patrick, don't be so like uptight, right? So relax. Let's have some fun. Let's play.
This is perfect. I'm going to give you all an opportunity to participate. I did not see this coming, but it's perfect. So I'm gonna lead by example, and then if anybody else wants to make fun of their tight self, you are welcome to grab the mic and show us what you're like when you're the programmed version. So I recently had a really fantastic session with Maureen. Wave your hand. Um, Maureen Minahan Jones, who's here with us today. And we did some work on these underlying beliefs that run my life. And they're just in the background, and we identified them and named them and gave new affirmations to replace them. So one of the aspects of Patter that we're replacing got named El Jefe. And El Jefe, like that's the chief in Spanish. And like what, Jen, do you want to tell people what it's like when I'm El Jefe? I mean, it's almost funnier to like bring you in. Um,
Oh my God, what is it like? It's not playful or fun. It's far from that.
Controlling,
Yeah.
condescending, rude. I have a justification for all of my force. It's like, I'm trying to make your life better, Jen, by helping us earn more money so that like things are flowing better for us. Like I have a tone of voice that's like it's a control, really a condescension,
Mm.
um, a disowning of other people. What else, Jen? Do you want to make fun of yourself at all? Like,
When yeah, I get really playful or I get really defensive if I'm in that serious, unplayful mode. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Jen and I have a really interesting dance, guys, because simultaneously I have the most extraordinary insights that open Jen's life, and I can be rude and critical. So if I say them right, Jen, like I'll say, Jen, like you really dropped the ball on that one. Like, what were you paying attention to? Like the focus is here. And she'd be like, oh, if you think that's dropping the ball, you should have seen the dump truck of marbles that I sent down the street in the middle of town the other day. Like I can drop balls like nobody's business. That's when I say it well. When I say it poorly, Jen's like, I didn't drop the ball.
Mhm.
And so we have this relationship with each other where I can be critical and controlling and condescending, and she can be defensive, or I can be like really insightful and deep, and she can be like, oh, thank you so much. So is anybody else aware of their ways of being like this? Like, how are people, let's be curious together. How are people when they are in this non-playful way? Who's gonna jump in?
Well, I can jump in.
Great.
Uh, well, I certainly can get very defensive when criticized. I'm very polite. I come from a family where we just don't really fight. We're all conflict avoiders. I'm a little better than I used to be. But in my mind, if say if I get into an argument about, I don't know, current affairs with somebody, I can obsess for ages afterward, like that was so stupid what she said. How could she even believe that? And you know, and go through the logic of why I'm right and she's wrong. And yeah, I can really get. I used to date somebody who was quite funny, and we would have an argument, and then he would tease me and make me. He had a way of teasing me that was very funny. So he'd make me laugh in the middle of this argument, and then I would realize, like, hey, I'm being too. This is not the end of the world. Just let go. That was a good insight to see. Hey, I don't have to take everything so seriously. So anyway,
That's awesome. One of my goals is to be somebody who, when he dates, when the woman that I'm with is in that voice, that I can make her laugh. Like that's an energy that I am nurturing. And yeah, looking forward to putting that in practice. How else are people? Like, how are we guys when we're tight? How do you feel inside when you're tight? Who else wants to share? Maureen, yeah.
Well, yeah, I was the mother from day one. My father passed away, and then I was the mother of the children because my mother went off with a guy. So I haven't ever played. So I was like, when you put this up there, I was like, I'm in.
Right on. Well, it's really great that you bring that up, Maureen, because I can identify with like Patter the provider. Oh my God, he's a fucking ogre. Like Patter the father, he's like got a certain type of control. Patter the whatever role I put on and stretch over my head and I say I am that, it comes with all these false ways of being. So it's really great to distinguish that. Who else has taken on a role that has them move into this kind of tight energy? Yeah, Marcia.
When I get triggered, I can be a real bitch.
Right on. Right
I
on.
have a little bit of a Sicilian personality when I get excitable. And yeah.
Yeah. Right on. And how do you feel inside when that's going on?
Very angry and anxious.
I know.
And then it's like, why did I allow my peace to be taken away from me? And then I get excited because now it's like, that was really silly.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, we bought into these stories. Maybe Nico, you want to say more here? Like the inside I can see it is like we bought into stories like me, I'm not enough, right? And then whenever I feel like I'm not enough, I switch into like a defending, protecting structure. And then the whole conversation is doomed, right? Like there's nothing good. Yeah, you want to jump in, Nico?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to, provide some clarity because a lot of what I deal with is when that goes on for decades and starts manifesting into the physical body, right? All this contraction, all these limiting beliefs. And like, look at it, when you come into this world, there is no sense of self. Like when a baby comes in, they're still so connected to the divine, they experience everything like them, like their self, and then the programming starts. When a baby comes in, they're like a blank hard drive, and they're mostly in like a theta state, and then they start getting programmed by the parents or whoever are more like the dominant authority figures, and this personality is being built, and that's where the limiting beliefs are actually formed that then later on are going to run our life. And don't get me wrong, like a lot of these beliefs are, they're useful because the unconscious mind at that moment is just trying to protect you. But then if you never upgrade those beliefs or you don't do an OS upgrade, you start, sabotaging yourself in life. And you'd be surprised. Oftentimes when people come to me and say like, oh, I know where this started. When I was 11 years old, this happened. I think like, okay, sure. But yeah, that's probably not going to be where it's at. And I regress them back. And usually it's between 0 and 7. Oftentimes it's still in the womb where these limiting beliefs are formed because of the feelings that the mother experiences. I mean, a fetus might not understand language, etc., but definitely feeling is, the language of the universe. Everything human beings do is a response to a feeling they either want more of or a feeling that they want less of. And it's funny that you say that, Patrick, like you have yourself being the provider and we have to be serious and we have to do this. If you really go dig down into it, it's because you want a certain feeling and you want your kids to have a certain feeling. So why not? The fastest way to have somebody feel something is to embody the feeling yourself. The other thing that we need to understand is that whatever feelings are anchored in our body, it constantly radiates out into the world. Our sense of self is radiated out into the world. Whether you realize it or not, other people treat you the way you feel about yourself. And I'm not talking about how you consciously think about yourself. I'm talking about how deeply you feel about yourself. Anybody ever do like affirmations, right? And you want to change your state and you're like, every day I'm feeling better and better. And you start doing it and you start amping it up. And all of a sudden you feel this little icky feeling in the background. That is really your dominant state because it's not your thinking, your conscious mind that runs the show. It's your subconscious, your unconscious mind. The conscious mind communicates through thoughts. The subconscious mind communicates through feelings. The power is in the feeling. A lot of people visualize, create mental constructs, and then think that's it. No, 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 no. The only reason you visualize or create that construct is to elicit the feeling within you. And that's where the power lies. So for us, for a lot of us, by the time we start going to school, it gets locked in. Everything from here on up matters. All that down here has no relevance. And that's where the problem is, right? Between that 0 and 7, we develop all these feelings within your body. And then all of a sudden we start going to school. Oh no, now you cannot be angry. You have to be this. You cannot be that. And then we get taught that if we think about it enough or analyze it enough, we can resolve the underlying feeling. And that is not true, because those feelings were basically embedded within you. They were anchored in before you even had these mental concepts. And it was so funny in the beginning when Patrick and I start working on certain things. Like many people that I work with, people think, hey, if I understand it and I have an insight, then the feeling goes away. And what did I kept telling you, Patrick? Nope. You
Clear the
change
feeling
feeling.
first, and then the insight comes. And I was like, but you've shown me like that's the way it works. So, the magic frame that Nico teaches, if you are not attending the emotional intelligence sessions on Lavanya that Nico teaches every month, you're missing the opportunity to like really learn tools to resolve this. So I highly encourage you. A lot of you are Lavanya members anyway, just come to the session. Like it's amazing. And so, Nico teaches tools to resolve a feeling. So I'll feel something. Usually the ones that are easy for me are the ones I feel in my gut. And I can use the tool, and within 1 minute, it's gone. And then after that, I understand why. And it's like I get to understand why from a more peaceful place. So yeah, that is the way it works. And you've helped me see that.
Yeah, and then you bring up like a good point, because there's a big difference between feelings and emotions.
Mhm.
An emotion always has a feeling associated, but a feeling doesn't have to be an emotion. And what do I mean by that is that feelings arise in our body all day long, right? You feel them in the body. But then what happens is your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind, goes scanning through the database and say, like, when's the last time we felt this? What was going on? What was the context? And now it creates an emotion, because now it attaches a story to it. If you can just be with a feeling that arises, most of them, they won't stay for a long time. You only feel your feelings for a certain amount of time. But then what happens is, because the mind goes into story mode, it keeps bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back. And that's why I'm saying, like when you consume a toxic substance, that's not nearly as harmful as like a toxic emotion, because you can poison yourself a few times a day by eating something that's not so good for you. But how many times can you poison yourself in your mind, right? Over and over. It's interesting. Things happen in our lives and they're done. But when it's not done up here, we poison ourselves thousands and thousands more times, right? And that's why it's important to learn to work with our feelings, and I would say to clear our emotions, to let go of the stories, because the memories of what happened to us is not what happened. Because your memories get recreated based on your perspective right now and your dominant state. When you're really down about something or depressed or sad or whatever, and you think about a particular problem, it's like doom and gloom and you can't find a way out. While if you're playful and you get in this higher vibrational state, solutions present itself, because you're no longer locked in to this lower vibration. That's why I think if you look at a lot of inventors, they will not tell you that they found the solution, because they seriously worked at it and put a lot of effort in. When did they get their solutions? When they were in the bathtub like Archimedes, or when they were on the beach, when they were relaxed. That should tell us something about where our real ability lies, right?
Mm. Wow, it's so interesting. And there's one other really interesting part about the way we are that I think is important to distinguish, which is we have these awful ways of being that make us tense and feel feel badly, and then we'll defend them and protect them and do everything we can to hold them in place. Why do we do that, Nico?
Well, basically, what happens is in those early years, there is an identity that gets formed. Now, that identity is typically the sum total of your parents and or other influential people. You know, you take that imprint and now you create this self. This is not your true self, right? That's not it. What was before you took all these things on and all these beliefs, that is your true self. And then the issue is that this identity we then go and defend throughout life, and we're basically defending and identifying the false construct that is not us, that is just a very, very limited version, and it will change over life. And the whole idea is, it's like the Taoists say, in order to go forward, go backwards. It's all about coming back to that playful, childlike state, but then with the wisdom of life, with the wisdom of the adult integrated, right?
Awesome. So I think we're getting the nature of the programmed, adapted, identity-based self. And we all, if we're here, we all know something about that. But it's good to tease it forward, because that's what's in the way of playfulness. So let's talk a little bit more about what else is in the way and what the true nature is. Like, do we have to, is my "I'm not enough" story going to keep me from being able to access playfulness, or is it in me,
Yeah, well, the "I am not enough," that's a good example. Or it's like, oh, I'm not lovable, right? Or I'm insignificant. I call those all the sins that we take on when we're children, and that is just not your true self. And yes, it does get in the way, but we can release it. And it's being shown to us everywhere. Like, if you look at children, if you look at animals, look at their playfulness, look at their curiosity, look at their joyfulness. Why is that? Because for me, these are qualities of the spirit, of the soul. That's who we are. So for me, like, that's why I do this crazy stuff. Like, every animal has a voice in my head. I can't help it. And the funny thing is, I do that and I start just talking, and it's fun, and animals love it because it generates a feeling within me that they recognize as being nature, as being, the source, the spirit.
Yeah, for sure. Tell people a little bit about how you built your mind and your identity. Like, you have this aspect of like playing games with yourself and your thinking all the time, and you've done that forever.
Yeah, I have. That's why we're today, when we were talking about, hey, you're gonna teach playfulness. I was like, Patrick, it's like such a inherent part of myself. It's like asking you, who's played tennis all your life, now explain to somebody how you hit that ball, right? You can teach some of the mechanics, but then you really, even me, now I start getting in my mind about, like, okay, like, how it's just natural. And the time I've gone through very dark times in my life too. I was really depressed and suicidal and all that. And that's when the mind had taken over. And I'm not going to say I lost my playfulness, but I stopped embodying and I stopped connecting with it, because my mind has taken over with all this seriousness, right? And the projections from the world onto myself, or at least that I had internalized.
Yeah. Well, I just love that you had created this structure that invites playfulness, this game-like way of thinking. Because I guess, I was a little more on the run during the first 10 years of my life than I really knew until recently. Like, I was scared all the time. And so I was trying to get the upper hand on things, get a place to stand on that was safe. And, so it's been really hard to invite me into playfulness. When we were living together back in near Asheville, North Carolina, a year and a half ago, Nico told me one day he wanted to start hosting retreats on the property that we were on, and he would do CEO retreats for teaching playfulness to CEOs. Talk about an uptight bunch of people. And he's like, Patrick, the reason I want to do that is because you need it. and I just couldn't get it. It's like the reinforcement mechanisms and the structures that like held me tight in there were just so many. And it's been a long journey, Nico, and I don't think we can say like that the cosmic tower is the reason that I'm playful, or that I handle my emotions well because of structured water and I'm more even keel and that's why I'm playful, or I've spent a ton of time in nature in the last couple of years and I've lived in really natural places. I've really great water. Like I think it's all of it. And it's an intention to cultivate this part. So I think that it's important to spend a minute, and happy to have you make this point, but the point is that our nature to be playful, that's what we are. So the rest of this is all just a program that we've been bought into. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I was saying earlier, the curiosity, the playfulness, everything you see, those are the attributes of the soul. I mean, for me, this world is like a big playground. Well, I've had enough experiences to where I know I'm not this body, right? And that there's much more beyond that. And that's why I kind of break it up, the reality, in two parts. I have what we call the game, which is here that we're all like, playing roles in, and it's like a big play. And then you have the absolute reality. You can't even describe that we're infinite, consciousness. And like connecting with that, and you say, yeah, I cannot say it's the cosmic tower. I cannot say it's the structured water. What I can tell you is when you embody the state of playfulness, of love, of joy, of curiosity, that's a really good way to connect with a cosmic tower because it recognizes that, right? It doesn't understand these mental concepts of like seriousness and we got to make this happen. Like, no, it's here to remind us of our true state, of our natural state. And when we embody that, when we get into that, making connection is easy. Right?
Yeah.
Because immediately there is a resonance. And it's to say, for me, my barometer of how I'm doing, it's always like children and animals. I don't really care so much what the adult thinks about me or what I should or shouldn't do, but I look like I'm like a magnet to animals and to kids, and that for me is a true indicator, and that for me is a million times more important than what any adult thinks that I should do or could do better or shouldn't do.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful when out in nature and an animal comes near you and notices you and doesn't have fear and even engages you. It's pretty special.
And also from a quote unquote more serious point of view, I was in a corporate world, for over 15 years, with C-level executives and whatever, and I was always playful and like kind of joke at things, and we got way much more done. We were way more creative when we were in this playful state. And I still get emails. I've left that world in, gosh, 2015. I still get emails from people that work for me, how they miss me and how things have gotten so serious and they're really not getting stuff done. And if you look at it from a more scientific point of view, Chris Voss, I think, is the guy, and it's about hostage negotiation. And when he was they realized when they were more playful, they were far more successful. So whatever you want to do, know that if you're in that playful state, you immediately get a 30% performance boost on whatever you're doing. When you're in a playful state, your brain, most people know about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. That goes on steroids when you're in a playful state. And I think that's one of the reasons that children learn so fast, because they're in that playful, they have that natural curiosity. For us, it's, it's coming back to those states and then see what happens.
So you guys, let's see, it's September 13th. So July 1st, I moved into an Airbnb with my Cosmic Tower 35 and like nothing around me. I didn't rent a car, and I set the intention for the month of getting closer to my inner child. And the first 2 weeks of the month were pretty rough, to be honest with you. There was a lot, like I didn't have anywhere to go except inward. And so I just hung there. And it was the third week of July that I made the decision to shift from being Patrick publicly to being Patter. And, why is like, when people call me Patter, it makes me want to laugh. Like, it just immediately evokes this happy feeling in my heart. That's what I was called as a boy. And probably even more importantly, my two sons, I have 4 kids, but my 2 sons in particular over the last decade have called me Patter. Like, they stopped calling me dad and they call me Patter. And it has all of the energy of the laughter from that. So for me, this summer has been an amazing deepening in this. And one of the most shocking things that happened, well, there's 2 things that happened in the last couple of weeks. I went hiking, and the person I was with said, I like to sing when I hike. And I was like, okay, like, does it diminish your enjoyment if it's not on key? And she's like, no. I was like, okay, then I'll sing with you. And so I was singing while hiking in the woods, and it was really fun. And I didn't have all that self-judgment and criticism. It was like a new domain of expression and play. And then I went to volunteer at this place where we make meals and give them out to people on the streets. And we have containers that fold shut that hold the food. And we draw with crayons and markers on the top of the container. And I got there late on my first day, and there was only like one logical place to go to, which is there were 5 people sitting around this table drawing on containers. And I sat down and I started to like do the first one. And I was like, yeah, guys, like, no fucking way. Like, I'm not doing this table. I'm going to go do something else. And so I walked away from the table, and I bumped into somebody, and spirit just like had that person speak what needed to be spoken. And I went back over to the crayons and markers table, and I was like, spirit is abundantly clear that this seed is mine and I'm to be drawing now. And so I had this amazing opportunity where all the personal growth that I've done to free my inner child from being so wounded and so upset, like he's kind of available. And so I got this opportunity to be the guy that I've cultivated now. And I just, for each one that I wanted to draw, I closed my eyes, I took a deep breath, I tapped into infinite creativity, I allowed an expression to formulate in my mind. And then if I didn't know how to draw what I wanted to draw, I picked up other people's containers and looked at what they draw to see how they made the types of shapes that I wanted to make. And I made a couple dozen of these, and I made them different. Like, I didn't like get one and then repeat it all the time, which I definitely would have done if I wasn't being playful. And I was shocked when the experience was over. I was like, I legit had fun with crayons and markers. Like, I legit had fun communicating love and aloha through that medium. So it's a journey, and I offer this to you in contrast to what Jen and I have been friends since 2007. And, she's been with the company all but 1 year since 2013. We've been through a lot together, and she has seen the evolution of a guy who is a monster to the guy who's mostly banished that monster and is a lot more fun and creative. So the contrast of that, I offer that to all of you as hope. as knowledge that this can be done. Yeah, Nico, you got something.
Yeah, I think you bring up an important point, which is that, people, and I tell a lot in my class too, it's just like people might forget what you said, they might even forget of what you did, but they'll never forget of how you made them feel.
When you told me that was the point, you guys. This summer, when he said that, I was like, oh my God, my relationships with the people who are most important to me are impacted because the tone that I take and the energy that I hold makes them feel a certain way. And so even though I think I'm being constructive and I think I'm doing God's work, the way I'm making them feel is getting me the feedback that I'm getting in these relationships. I have to change this.
Yes, and what is the fastest way to change how somebody feels? It's to change how you feel. Whether you realize it or not, the way human beings are, we always sync up with each other. So that's been like my thing. If I want to do one thing in the world, it's just make people feel good, make them laugh, make them lighten up. And I forget who was making the comment earlier. I think it might have been Susan, that, oh yeah, you have a serious argument or whatever, and all of a sudden something goofy happens, you laugh, and it's like all gone, right? My Taoist teacher says it's the most important thing is to smile. When you smile, your crown opens up. When you smile, you lift your organs. That does so many things. If you just smile and just have a lightness about you, people gravitate towards that. And all the stuff we want to accomplish with seriousness, with all this other stuff, guess what? Ultimately, it's to get to a particular feeling. You think, if I have this house, if I have this car, if I have achieved this, then I'm going to feel this way. Well, it's more the other way around. Be that now. You can be that way. You can feel that way. And then that feeling, that vibration, your dominant vibration that you carry, the sum total of all your feelings, that's basically what the law of attraction is based on. What you bring into your life is not based on your thoughts. What you bring into your life is based on the feelings that those thoughts generate. That is your vibrational signature. If you want to change how people treat you, change how you feel about yourself. Know that you broadcast that into the world nonstop. And whether you realize and whether the person realizes it or not, they're always going to treat you in accordance with that.
Right on. For those who might have joined a little late or are watching this recording, there's a 3-part series on the art of playfulness, and it's starting with really looking at how human beings are constructed and what it's like to be us and how we learn to be so stuck. And we're going to start the transition now, and we're going to do a process, and then later, I don't know how much today, but in the future classes, we're going to really tie this to the Cosmic Tower. And for those of you who are Cosmic Tower owners and have the opportunity to interact with them, by the time we get to the 3rd session, we intend to be in active live engagement of you playing with your tower and hearing about those stories. So that's the way we're going here. But it's really important to recognize that as a community, we all, at a base level, it is our nature to be playful, to feel safe in this world, to live a life of love and joy. And that's yours. And if you can just forget everything that you learned that's sitting on top of that, it's what's underneath. You don't have to worry that it's not there. You just have to forget the things that keep you from feeling that. So, Nico, I think this would be a good time to do the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just make a few other points. I mean, what I'm talking about, it's nothing new, right? Jesus talked about it in the Bible and said, be like little children, right? Be playful, be curious, be joyful. How the cosmic tower ties into it, it carries those higher vibrations. So when you put yourself in that state, when you become playful or loving, or curious, that is something that the cosmic tower recognizes. A lot of times people ask me, how do I communicate with my tower? Because they're all living up here in their head mentally, right? No, that's not how you create the connection. The way you create the connection is through those higher feelings. And when you embody those, immediately the resonance forms and the connection is immediate. And don't pay so much attention to the thoughts. It's really about bringing it all back down into the feelings. It's the feelings that then later on can get translated through the mind of like, you should do this, or you should do that. Now some of you,
Nico, before you move on, just hold your train of thought, right? You want to make a couple points, but just on that one, when Nico would say that to me, like you're all up here and you're not here, like so frustrating for me. You know, it's like I'd gotten to like a nicer version of logic, right? And so I made sense to me as coming from my heart, but I was just being nicer, kinder logic. At least I wasn't being like an ogre. And so I felt like that was more heartfelt, and it's not, it's just nicer logic. And so there's in my opinion, there's a fusing going on in our species where the heart mind are fusing together, and it's a journey. And it's a journey of experience by experience, knowing heart-based experiences. So I would say for many of us today, gathering like this in an open community is a heart-based experience. And you just want to notice. You want to notice the way you feel, and just let it be okay wherever you are on that journey. I'm still walking that path. I think I probably still spend more time in my head than I do in my heart, but I know what it feels like to be in my heart now, and I can consistently acknowledge it when I'm there. Thanks, Nico.
yeah, and we can actually, and what we're going to do today is we're going to use the mind to create that state. The mind can be helpful there, but the mind shouldn't dominate. A lot of times people are like, oh, unconditional love, I'm so loving, but it's just a mental concept. You can't feel it. And that's just like putting lipstick on a pig, basically, right? I mean, so one of the things that's important, because oftentimes people are like, well, I cannot even remember what that feels like, or I feel so far removed from that. Do not worry about that, because imagination, sometimes they say, oh, it's just your imagination. Well, at some level, all of this reality is your imagination. And that is really where your superpower is. Think about it. When you were a little child and maybe you played with your dolls and you had tea with them, or if you're a boy, you picked up a stick and all of a sudden you're shooting or you're having conversations with your dolls, and you're just in a completely different world, right? And you're fully immersed in it. That is when you're at your most powerful. Do not ever say, oh, it's just my imagination. Know how important that your imagination is, because I can tell you right now, imagining that you have like a beautiful apple that you really love, and you just imagine biting into it, and all of a sudden, oh, you're getting ready to digest, and like your body responds to it. So oftentimes we use that in a way that's not helpful, right? Which is about worrying, about focusing on what we really don't want. And first of all, that is sending out the vibration to bring more of that in, but it's also very detrimental to our body, right? And the way to get out of that, and how we're going to do that today, is, yeah, we're going to play with this and with generating these feelings. And a lot of you that have been in my classes in Lavanya, you've done this, but you cannot do this enough, because your ability to change your state, when you change your feeling, when you change how you feel, you change your level of consciousness. And that's where your power lies. So first off, since we have a few like new people here. When I ask you, what color is it or whatever, the secret is that do not like make it a mental concept. So I want to go through some basics here. When you ask your subconscious mind a question, it will always answer it, and it will be in the form of feelings. So a lot of people are like, why does it always happen to me? The unconscious mind, subconscious mind goes and look, oh, it's because of this and this and this and this. So if you're not happy in your life and you're having a lot of emotions or feelings that you don't really want, look at the questions you're asking yourself, because know that your unconscious mind answers all of them, right? So what I would like to tell you is like there's like 6 dynamics of communicating with your unconscious mind when you ask it a question. That is, first of all, the unconscious mind will always answer first. It always answers honestly based on what it believes, and you always feel like you're making it up, and you'll feel an urge to edit it, and it's typically the small voice in the background, not the loud voice in our head, and it's never linear. And I just want you to know this up front, because I really want you, if I want you to learn one thing, it's like when you ask a question, to learn to go with that first impression, right? Because that is where your power lies. And then when you're like, it can't be green, it can't be that color, that is your conscious mind coming in and trying to change now. But intuition, right? Communicating with the unconscious mind, it's all about going with this first impression. And I know a lot of us, we might be a little bit like more serious. Do not worry, you cannot mess this up.
I tried.
Right? It's okay. Play with it. Right? And that's where the secret is. It's in the feelings, right? When you think about the iceberg, what you see above the water, it's the mental. What really charts out where you're going in life or what your experience is, everything below sea level, below the level of your awareness. That manifests itself in your body as feelings. Your subconscious mind communicates your feelings. Okay? So let's have some fun with this. And let me also tell you the best thing when I asked you think of a time when, if you have a real memory about that, that works best. If you say, I don't even know anymore what that would feel like, just imagine what it might be like. Okay, that also gets you in touch, gets you in tune with it. All right, so yeah, let's get started. So I would just like you to like close your eyes and just take a deep breath and just relax. Just let the tension go. That's right. And now I'd like you to imagine a time when you were so playful, when you were so joyful. Maybe you're playing with a pet, with your kids, just in nature, playing sports. Whatever it is for you, just go with that. And just think back about that time. If you can't think about a time, imagine what it might feel like. And I want you to notice as you see what you saw then, as you hear what you heard, as you smell and taste it, what you smell and taste it, I want you to really amplify it and really feel it. And when you do that, when you see what you saw, you hear what you heard, when you smell and taste it, what you smell and taste it, I want you to notice that there is an amazing feeling that is starting in your body, a feeling of playfulness, of joyfulness. And I want you to notice where in your body you feel this. You can point there with your hand. That's right. Just point to where you feel it. And then I want you to look with your inner eyes. And I want you to notice that connected to this feeling is a color, maybe even a series of colors. What might that be for you? Your first impression. That's right. And now I want you to imagine a big, bright ball of that color, of those colors hanging above your head. And with every breath you take, and with every beat of your heart, I just want you to notice how that ball of energy is growing, how it is growing brighter and brighter like the sun, how it starts filling up the entire room with those beautiful colors of playfulness, of joy. Starts filling up the room from wall to wall, from floor to ceiling, until it wraps around you like a blanket of playfulness, of joyfulness. And then notice how with every breath you take, every beat of your heart, more and more of these colors just starts flowing into your body. With every breath you take, you start pulling in more and more of those amazing feelings, of those amazing colors. And they start going into every cell of your body. They start going into your heart. The heart starts pumping these amazing colors all through your body. That's right. You guys are doing great. And just keep breathing in more of those infinite, amazing feelings, those amazing colors. And notice that there's nothing you need to do to make this go better or go faster. It just naturally and automatically starts filling up your body to until every cell in your body is vibrating at this playfulness, at this joyful feeling. And you just keep breathing in more and more of it, breathe it through your body. And you will get to a point where you notice that this feeling is so strong that nothing outside of you can turn it off or take it away. And when you know it's this strong, when you know it's that strong, it cannot be taken away, not even by yourself, try to take it away and then notice what happens instead. Most people will comment they can't take it away. Some are like, I don't want to take it away. Some, when they try to take it away, it just gets stronger and stronger. That's right. Simply open your eyes. And when you do that, just notice how different the world looks, how different it feels. It's really a simple process, but does anybody have any comments of what they noticed?
You guys know I can talk all day, so somebody else jump in and let's hear somebody else's voice.
Marcia, you unmute yourself first. Yeah.
It's just that the whole world disappeared. And it was just me and my kitten.
Very nice.
Who else? What did you guys notice? Come on, it's fun to share what you notice. It's fun to be part of a group. It's fun to have your voice be heard and be seen.
Well, I have a pattern of feeling like I'm not doing something right. So, yeah, I kept imagining that even though I could do it to a point that, oh, I'm not really doing it.
That's perfect self-awareness. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Who else? Come on, it's fun to hear your voices. Let's have like 5 more people share or just say something. Yeah, John, go ahead.
You're muted. Yep.
Hi, it's the first time I've been on one of these meetings, but I'm a new member. But I just felt a massive iridescent golden light in my heart area. And that just expanded and expanded, then became a whole rainbow of light, all the colors. And they just became stronger and stronger. And I just felt very peaceful. But I've done Psych-K and all sorts of things, quantum touch and lots of energy work in my life. So I'm quite familiar with all these things, but it's very interesting what you've been saying.
That's great, John. Thanks for being here and welcome. And thanks for sharing. That's great. Who else? Come on, let's get a couple more. Yeah, Zane.
this came pretty easy to me because I do practice it, but in my qigong, but I just picture a blue sky universe and the space and inside and outside. So it's like this dissolving and expansion and very even and fine. And that kind of calms me down. It's that merging.
Yeah, your voice calms me down. For those that don't know, Zane plays with energy by teaching Qigong on Lavanya, and he's just so playful. Like every time you talk, Zane, I just feel playful and soft. So thank you for all you've done to become that voice and that being behind that voice. And you guys go to his class and play with energy. It's amazing. All right, who else? A couple more. It's fun to have your voice heard. Come on. Let's have it. Maybe some people with their video cameras off too. You can just unmute yourself and jump in. It's okay. Or you can raise your hand. Come on, you guys, try your voices.
All right. Well, I've had an experience, but it wasn't playful, but it was interesting. So you may have, I don't know if you noticed, but I had to leave the meeting for a little while because I was praying Divine Mercy between 3 and 4 o'clock. Well, the meeting was between 3 and 4, so I needed to do my prayers. When I came back in, I followed your thing, and red and blue were my colors. Well, Divine Mercy is about the body and blood of Christ. So remember, he dies on the cross, and it's the blood and the water, the blue and the red. I said, I'm pretty sure that tainted my experience. Not that it was a bad experience, but I think it did affect my outcome. And one other thing I like to say, I totally agree with everything you're saying there, Nico. And lately I've gotten into some meditation with Joe Dispenza. And that's what he's all about. You meditate about space. Imagine where you are in space, the space between your ears or beyond your ears. And it's all about getting yourself into no space and no time. And then writing the script that you want for yourself. So, yeah, I think you can get there through meditation and actually writing your own script. So I'm pretty much thinking this is in line exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
One other thing that I have added, because I think I have a very determined conscious mind that likes to block this because it knows where I'm going. So I'm doing a little subterfuge. And at night, I play the scripts that I want my unconscious to hear. There's some really great ones on YouTube. Again, Joe has them, and other people do too. To slip that in, and I'm sleeping so much better with that playing in the background. I go, oh yeah, this is wonderful. And of course, I'm blocking the blue light and all that, but this is taking it to the next level. Look, I'm in a position in my life where I have no choice. If I want to have a quality of life, I have to regrow my lungs. I've had 5 cancers and nobody's going to give me a transplant. So I pretty much have to take it to the next level and grow myself. So that's not going to happen in normal worlds. I have to go to the next level. So I'm with you on that. And oh, by the way, the tower has been amazing when it comes to meditating. It really has been a real boost. Oh, for sure. That's what
Thank you for sharing, Richard. And just some tips, like with your prayers, with your meditation.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Since everything we think of, everything we pray for, I want you to dig deeper and ask your mind, what's important to me about that? Why? What do I get out of that? And then get the answer and dig deeper. Ultimately, you will come to a feeling, right? If you can bring yourself into that feeling first, that is the feeling of the outcome you're expecting.
Well, that's what Joe says. He says that once you've got the feeling, nerves that fire together, wire together. So that's what we're talking. Is that what we're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That your work, like what you're doing, is going to go on steroids. If people just pray and it's this mental exercise, or they do affirmations and just mentally, it doesn't do anything. Because we have forgotten that the reason we do that is to generate this feeling. The feeling is vibration. It changes the consciousness. You have to be at the consciousness of what you want to achieve, because this whole time, linear time, is an illusion. So by bringing yourself ahead of time, knowing the feeling that you're after, then getting yourself into that feeling, that's what where the power lies.
That's it. Yep.
And there's this exercise seems so simple, but do not underestimate what we're doing. We have 3 main energy centers that I use, right? Center of the head in the heart space, and then the lower dantian, which is basically, it represents the different layers. So think about what happens. I'm asking you about a time where you felt really playful or joyful. Now we're using the mind to worry in a positive way, to focus on something that we want more of. That allows us to tune into the vibration. Then when I say point to where you feel it, that's where the nexus, that's where the node is in physicality. Right. And then we anchor it and we use the breath, which kinds of fuses the mental, the spirit layer with the physical. And that's why if people are worrying, you're never going to think yourself out of it. What you want to do is you want to change your body posture and your breathing, and you start there first. And you work with colors, and then you'll notice that the mind will follow, right? If you have erratic thoughts that are all over the map, pay attention to it. Erratic breathing. Your posture is not good, it's going to be contracted and small. So your mind changes all that. So all of a sudden your entire being is in this vibration of worry or whatever it is at. The way out is not in the mind. That's what created it. Shift your posture, shift your breathing, and then use the mind with colors, and you can change your state. Thank you for sharing, Richard. Karen, I saw you put your hand up. I'm sorry, I was still rambling a little bit.
That's okay. That was wonderful, Nico. And it was interesting because I was just falling asleep, like my nap time, right in the afternoon. I did the meditation. I came fully alive. I was like, you said playful and whatever. And then right after the meditation, I went, oh, my energy slumped again. But as you're talking again, my energy went up again. So do you have an explanation to what is going on in my body?
Well, I think you're just like feeling the vibrations.
Okay.
Right. And you're just tuning into it. It cannot not happen. People are always like, how do I connect with my tower? How do I connect? Well, you cannot not connect. It's just that you got to realize that once you set your intention for connection, you let it go, and automatically it's there. Now, when you walk into a room and people are like, I don't know, there's like a lower vibrational state and everybody's serious, or, like, I like to just go in and then connect with that state. And then once the connection is there, start shifting my vibration, knowing that the fastest way to change somebody else's vibration is to change your own. So it's really, really powerful. And when we have this idea of, oh, I need to communicate this, or I need people to do that, well, only 7% of your spoken words affect how another person perceives it. The great majority of it is the nonverbal, the body, and then the tonality. So before you even say something to another person, I want you to think about, what do I want the outcome to be? How do I want the person to feel? Anchor that vibration. Use what I just did. We just did it with playfulness. You can do it with any feeling. You can do it with joy. It doesn't matter. And this is a really powerful way to get your 3 energy centers coherent and synced up. And now when you speak to a person, your tonality is automatically going to be right. Your nonverbal is automatically going to be right. So you could say Mary had a little lamb, and people will feel that way.
That's great. Thank you very much, Nico. Appreciate you.
Thank you for sharing.
I gotta tell a cute story. I'm not sure it makes a particularly deep point, but it's cute. And then I'm gonna ask everybody here to share something. And we're gonna give everybody the chance to talk, because I think that having your voice heard in the community, I don't care what you say. Just say hello, I'm attending from here today. just want to help us break whatever keeps us in silence. So the cute story is we had in our first house, we had a stairway where the bedrooms were upstairs and the living room was below. And our oldest daughter would come to the edge of the stairs, and this is after bedtime, and she would take like her doll and she would like throw it over the rail and it would land next to us. And she'd say, I dropped big baby. And we'd pick big baby up and walk her back up to her bed and tuck her in. And then she'd come back and she'd say, I can't find my blanket. And you go and like, her blanket's on her bed right next to her pillow, and you tuck her in. And she would sometimes do this 3, 4, 5 times. And then the funniest one she ever did is she came to the edge, and she'd already done, big baby had gotten tossed and the blanket had gotten found and all that. And she said, something. That was it. Just something. She just wanted a little love and connection. And I want a little love and connection with all of you. And so we're gonna do this one of two ways. We're either gonna have people just raise their hands and say something about what's going on for them in this experience, just to break you from being isolated in this, or we're gonna unmute everybody and do it impersonally. So if you want to do it personally, just raise your hand right now and join the conversation for a second. Say hi to the community. Say something to Nico about what's going on for you. Share from your experience. Here comes Maureen.
I just wanted to say something. Eileen, are you the one that I called about the cosmic tower? Are you in Tahoe? Are you in Tahoe?
I'm in Tahoe, yes.
Okay. So I get to connect with your tower every day because I don't have one of my own. And it's just so cool because every time I tap in, this is what I hear. Well, hello, my love.
This is perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How far away are you, Maureen?
How far did I say 100?
Yeah, South Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, and so I'm in Oakdale. We just went up to Tahoe this last weekend and just had a marvelous time. So I really tapped in when I was up there. But we're within distance. I don't know exactly the distance, but we're in distance where I can tap into hers.
Okay, cool. Well, that was perfect because we're going to do a homework assignment for people who have towers. But before we do, we want to hear more voices. Who else has something to share that hasn't used their voice in the community yet today? Just say hello to us.
Well, I just recently got back from a cross-country trip, and I've been exhausted. And so that's why I'm real quiet today, because I just am exhausted. And I'm slowly
welcome
getting
home.
Back.
Yeah, welcome home, and may your rejuvenation feel great. Who else wants to say hi to us?
Thank you.
Yes, I see your hand. Oh, Judy. Yes.
Edward, I have 2 questions. One is for you. And my question is, what were the drawings that you were making?
Oh, yeah, sure. The first one, I made a pink heart and I drew XOXO all the way around the box. And then I drew butterflies and I drew suns and grass, and it just little things like I wrote Onolicious. Ono is like Hawaiian for this tastes so good. So Onolicious on a couple of them. The point was that when somebody is like living on the street and you drive up to them, and the spirit of this organization isn't just feeding people who don't have food, it's spreading aloha, right? It's spreading breath and life and love. And so when you hand somebody a meal and the top of that container says, I love you in whatever way, that's what I was drawing.
I understand. And Nico, would you please speak in an animal voice?
Well, Nico, if you don't have one, I can prompt you that you were going to see Blue. So Blue's my dog, and he's in Texas, and Nico's in Texas, and he was going to see Blue tonight. So you could go there or go another way if you want.
Well, Blue would say, Dad, it's really messed up. You were going to go to the store, and you're still not back yet. But then again, I don't really know about time. So you're about 2 days gone now, and I really want you to come back home, Dad, or I'm just going to start messing stuff up over here. And when I get a crazy hair, what happens in the neighborhood?
Thank you.
I left on May 19th, so it's been a minute.
And then we used to have Mr. Charlie on the farm, and I called him Mr. Charlie Rinpoche because he was kind of like a reincarnated llama. And we would have satsangs every Sunday where Mr. Charlie would teach until he got hungry. It's like, I might be a llama, but now it's time for chicken. Give me some chicken.
Very, very sweet. Thank you, Judy. Dawn, wonderful you've raised your hand. Great to see you.
Oh, hello. My name is Dawn, and I've had my cosmic tower, and his name is George, and I talk to him every day, and I just love having it here with me.
Dawn, it is so wonderful to hear your voice. Thank you so much for joining our call and for sharing your voice with us. That's really great. Yep. Who else wants to jump in the conversation? Come on, raise your hands, unmute yourself, say something.
Well, I'll go.
Great. Thank you. And guys, we're only going to do a couple more. So either raise your hand or miss your chance. This is your chance to communicate with the community. And then we're going to move on to your homework assignment, which is going to be really fun and playful.
Okay, first of all, it's really wonderful to be here. It's very exciting to me because I'm in a place in my life where I really do have to reconstruct my plate because I have done so many unhappy things to my body. And it is saying, unless you get yourself together, this is the way we're going to be. So you need to get it together. So I'm very happy to be here and to learn about the playfulness, which is why I came. When I was doing the assignment, I unfortunately didn't find the nice little thing that I was happy about. But fortunately, this time I didn't worry about it. I didn't say, oh my God, I knew this was going to happen. Oh, here I am in the same position again. What am I supposed to do? I tried to listen and follow what the next thing was. That was the best thing for me to do at that time. The best thing that happened to me was when the colors came, because I saw red and I thought, well, I do like red, but I don't know why I had to get red, but okay, let me go with this. And then when the colors were going on, they just went into all kinds of mutations of red. So that was really, really beautiful to see all the different, it was pink and red and light red and maroon and all the, and I used to love maroon when I was a child. That was one of the colors I did like. And it even switched from that to maybe some yellows and some greens. And so it was really a wonderful experience. And when it was all over, I felt very, very calm, which is really great for me because I am oscillating every minute between being scared, upset, don't know what I'm going to do. To get to a calm feeling was very beautiful. So I'm very happy that I was here today.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, the colors are really powerful because think about what they really are. Everything is vibration. And once you translate it into a color, that is a vibration. And you're shifting your entire body into that vibration. And one thing, Thelma, I wanted to share with you, I heard you say, I had to, I have to, I must. Think about in terms what you want to, what you would love to. Because if we tell ourselves, I have to do this, it feels like it's coming from outside and we automatically create a resistance. While if you say, I want to, it comes from within you and that resistance will not be there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thelma, I just want to distinguish your courage for a minute. You know, pain is an awful reinforcer, and it's what happens when I don't listen well enough. I basically raised my kids in pain. I had to learn how to throw a football with my left arm because I couldn't throw one because my right shoulder hurt so much. And a couple of weeks ago, I was playing in the waves here on Maui, and I was with my son, and I was like, you know, like, I feel so great. And like, I just want to like, you know, play in these waves. And he was like, hey, Dad, keep it under wraps. Like, don't overdo yourself again and get where you like do that thing where you exert yourself for one day and then you hurt for 3 weeks. And I was like, you don't get it. Like, I don't have joint pain anymore. Like, I'm good. He's like, yeah, sure, Dad. Like he can't imagine, like he's only known a dad in pain. So I think that pain has been the driver of all the personal growth that I've done. And so that you have that pain, like, I just invite you to see it as a gift from God, that you were maybe not knowing where to focus to listen to the messages. And so they needed to manifest at a deeper level and anchor in. And so For those of you who are there or a little bit shy and you want to work with Nico one-on-one, Nico offers sessions for sale on Lavanya.com. And if you've got some really deep entrenched stuff and you want help with that, go that way. And showing up with your courage, Thelma, and identifying what's going on for you and being transparent and speaking it to a community, that's everything. That's everything. Like kudos to you. And then just stay focused on what you want in your life and keep asking. Keep asking. Great job participating. Thank you so much. Jordan, I knew when you put your camera off that you were going to jump into the conversation. Good job. Thanks for raising your hand. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm muted. So as Nico said, I'm Jordan. I really like all of Nico's exercises. There was the gray room. There was I'll call it the timeline, and then it escapes me what it was called. But then there was one after the timeline was the one for the grief, and then I watched and did them in reverse order. And found them to be quite effective. So yeah, I was experiencing, basically it was like a medical condition level of anxiety. And after I'd done everything that I thought, okay, it's because of this, it was still there. And then and I couldn't watch or attend Nico's exercises, and it was a safety signal, so it kept coming back even with a magic frame. But I think if I'd done those, then and if I'd been like been able to done them, I think that would have been, to connect your neurology in the way that he said. I think it would have been very effective for that, going from, I'd say, basically from uncontrolled fear to joy.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm happy you did the recordings. Because the beauty of this work is I don't need to know what bothers people. Like sometimes I deal with, things that are really personal that people don't dare to share with everything. I don't need to know. I invite them to share, but I don't need to know for it to work. We work on a level to where, and for a lot of people that's important because they feel maybe a lot of like guilt, shame, or whatever around sharing what it is. It's not needed with the work we do. And then you did the gray room, which is amazing because I love the gray room. It changed my life because with the gray room, you don't just clean up your limiting beliefs or emotional blockages that you're aware of, but also the unconscious ones that you might not even be aware of. They get cleared out. So yeah, absolutely keep doing that.
One thing where how Patter kept falling asleep, the gray room, I fell asleep twice, so I had to go back and do it. So I don't know what it is that does that, but I did have to do it twice, so I was awake through the whole thing.
Well, that happens quite a bit, and do not worry about that because sometimes you get in such a deep state to where you're accessing such a deep state of yourself that the conscious mind completely checks out and you go to sleep. But no, when you're listening to it, your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind is still listening, and you will get the results that you're looking for. So yeah, good job, because the secret isn't really doing the processes. Since we're such mental creatures, all of us are looking for the next shiny penny, and then we move on to the next one. Mastery is about doing the simple things that work for you and to do them consistently and keep doing them. So good job, Jordan. Thank you for sharing.
Oh. And I also would say to how Nico was saying to do the sounds. So I think it's really like I hadn't driven for 5 years, and then I started driving again, and so I'm thinking to finally get it so I drive regularly, so I make the car sounds.
That's awesome. Playing with your imagination. Jordan, thanks so much for jumping in. And just so you know, I've fallen asleep to the gray room at least double-digit number of times. And Nico's recording has put me to sleep more than anything else in the last year. So it's perfect. And I just, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, I'll just listen to Nico. And then, yeah, I get the rest of my sleep. I don't know if Thelma, you noticed it, or if anybody else is aware of it, but Margie typed in the text, keep shining your beautiful light, Thelma. And I just want to go back there for a second and make sure that doesn't get missed as a community, because you guys are starting to come alive. You're starting to talk and use your voices, and you're starting to see each other, and you're starting to smile more. So I'm curious, so I don't know if you guys know how unscripted this is, but like part of our playfulness is that we don't know what's going to happen on the calls when we start them. So like Nico, when he heard that we're giving a homework assignment, it's like, oh, what homework assignment? Because he didn't even know about that. And the idea of like getting you all to talk, I didn't know that that was going to happen. So we're modeling it. We've just gotten a bunch of unstucks already done, so that we can at least be engaged and know we're enough. But then we still have to keep unsticking ourselves and doing it all the time. So I'm curious if anybody who shared, who has their camera on, like if you felt better after speaking to the community, just 1 degree of bettering yourself. Just go like this and let everybody see your hands. If you felt better from talking. So there's a nice benefit to engaging, and I want to invite you all to keep doing that. And thank you so much for everybody that engaged. So let's talk about the homework assignment now. Nico, here's what you're going to be creating. So please give people an assignment to go forth over the next 2 weeks in their lives and engage playfulness. Give them a place to observe themselves and a way to form an intention so that they can go into an exploration in their life and carry some of the energy of what we brought in together. And if you want to, if it comes and if it flows, there could be an aspect for people who don't have a tower, and then for people who do. And maybe there's even something to be learned or shared with what Maureen modeled so beautifully, which is, she lives 150 miles roughly away from Eileen's tower, and she's saying hi to it all the time. So, we have the majority of the country covered in a network of 220s. So, yeah, let me drop that on your lap and see what you do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I'm actually heading up that area. My girlfriend and I will be staying up in Eagle Lake, California, 2 hours from Reno until the end of October. So we'll be out there. And see, I think if I want you to take one thing away, is that the feeling is what it's all about. So one of the things to do is if you're a Lavanya member, and my techniques are in there, how to clear emotions and how to release them, because it's not like we have to become playful. It's just about releasing everything we're not, and playful is already there, right? And one of the cool things is that when you have most access to your subconscious, to your unconscious mind, is right as you wake up in the morning and as you're falling asleep. So whatever you're doing mentally when you are falling asleep, you keep repeating that for as long as you are asleep. Then when you wake up, you move back from these deeper levels of consciousness to your waking state. Whatever shows up there, if you have access to the techniques, clear that. Whatever you can clear, you wake up in the morning and then boom, there's this yucky feeling there. Before you get out of bed, take a moment, do the magic frame, whatever, clear that emotion. The same thing, if you do these, I'll do them in bed as I'm falling asleep. And the cool thing is, if I fall asleep, then my mind just keeps cleaning up for the remainder of the sleep. So that's one powerful thing. But what I would like you to play with for the next few weeks is, I want you to go into the feelings that you want more of in your life, whatever that is for you. And in the morning, I mean, I'm a human being too. I worry, or there's things that, that I don't feel so good about, but I don't like to let it linger throughout the day. Like when I work with people and like we're in rapport and I feel a lot of like what they're experiencing, I always clean it up so I don't take my dirty laundry from one interaction into the next. So be more mindful about, oh, I want to tell this person that I want this outcome. I want you to think about and I want you to dig into it and get to the feeling that you're really after. And then I would like you to embody that feeling and then go do what you need to do. And then go have that conversation that you need to have, because now you are carrying the vibration where the solution lives. So for the next few weeks, like, make people feel as ridiculously good as you possibly can by, embodying those feelings for yourself, and not just like accept or let your mind take you and your feelings take you on. Take a pause, take a deep breath, change your posture, and then choose how you would like to feel instead. So what you can do is then you can play with these higher vibrations like playfulness, joyfulness, Thelma, like peace, relaxation, whatever it is you want. Use this process to where you use your mind to think of a time when you experienced that. If you cannot think of a time when you experienced that, what might that be like? See it, hear it, smell it, taste it. That opens up the channels. Then notice there's a place in your body where you feel that. Point to where you feel it. Look with your inner eyes. Go with those first colors. Imagine a big ball hanging above your head, expanding until you're fully saturated with it. And play with that. And then for those of you that have a cosmic tower, do it with your cosmic tower first.
Nico, hang on 1 sec. I just want to underscore part of what you just offered. So guys, I went to the Lavanya BitChute channel. I recommend you all go to the Lavanya BitChute channel and click the subscribe button, and you'll get notified when we have new videos. I looked back and I found a video with Nico teaching. It's an hour long. I don't remember what the content of the video, that's not one of my strengths, but I know Nico always teaches tools, and if we published it, it's a good one. So if you're a Lavanya member, go to lavanya.com, log in, and access the replays of all of Nico's videos. But if you're not a member, here's a free resource for you so that you can get some of the teachings that he's talking about. So we want everybody to have something. So I'm going to put that link in the chat right now. But the best thing to do is subscribe to BitChute and watch the videos that we put there. And if your budget allows, it's only $18 a month. We think it's the best value on planet Earth. Join Lavanya and then just go in and get all the videos. All right, for Cosmic Tower people, Nico.
Yeah, I just really, what I'd like you to do is anchor that feeling. Joy, playfulness, peace, love, any of these higher vibrations. Because what I taught you works with any higher feeling. You can use it for any of them. Really anchor it in so fully to where when you try to turn it off, it won't turn off. And then just open your eyes and connect with your tower, and then notice what happens. Notice what comes up.
Okay.
Enough.
Questions? Anybody have any questions what Nico's asking you to do? I know that was a lot of information. There will be a recording of this call, and we will send it out on Friday at 5 p.m. in our weekly email. And you can watch it again if you want to. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
Well, I just want to thank everybody that's here, because what you're doing by changing how you feel, that is a ripple that goes out through the entire world. You might not realize it, but I had people come back like after 5 years. You told me this 5 years ago. I had no idea what I was talking about. I don't even remember sometimes 5 minutes after, because I don't really feel it's me. It's just flowing through. Know that you might not know it in the moment, but how you feel and how you are a beacon, like a cosmic tower out in the world with that feeling. You are changing the world. You are a powerful being. And don't ever say like, oh, it's just me internally. No, 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 no. We're all connected. So really embody the feeling of what you want to experience in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nico. So we just had somebody who wanted to ask a specific cosmic tower question. And I just want to say that as we go into parts 2 and 3 of this series, we're going to really get into interacting with the tower. And that, you know, the intention today is we want to make sure we serve everyone, whether they had the budget to get a tower or not, and have one of their own. And so that's why this class was less tower focused. But, you know, the tower is one of the primary resources I have in my life and we have on this earth to take ourselves to a higher level in these conversations. And so I'm not going to go to that question right now. We'll address it after the call. And I want you to know you can bring your questions about the towers to the next calls, and we'll be all about that. So
to Gary's point, you know, just play with it, right? And no, you're not probably gonna get a loud like name or whatever, but it might be a whisper. It might come through you a different way. And also know you do not have to identify the name to communicate with it. That's just something that makes it easier for humans. But if you can feel it, if you can tune into that vibration, that's the important thing. The name is more of an anchor point to that consciousness, to that feeling, to that vibration.
Right on. All right. Thank you all for being here. Can't wait to see you again in 2 weeks. And yeah, we appreciate all your participation. It's great to see you guys. Everybody, I'm going to unmute the line. So you're welcome to say goodbye and have your voice heard one more time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Cheers.
you, Nico.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nico.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nico Patter.
Bye, like a Cheshire cat.
Thanks, guys. All right. You all take care.
Yeah.
Bye.